It's early afternoon, Alachua County. I'm the Philosopher Pirate, and this is Florida at Large. I'm currently wandering in the forest, San Felasco, or I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, State Park. I'm sure viewers will advise me otherwise, and honestly, when I'm visiting a lot of these places in Florida, they're pronounced differently by even locals, even the county of Alachua. It used to be pronounced more like Alachua or Alachua, I've been told by locals, and it just keeps changing. So I'll try to follow the tradition of the time, but who knows? Uh, Getting to the subject today, I just had a great hike. I had to move around some obstacles. I think I stumbled upon a trail that should have been closed or is closed. It's hard with the signage because I was kind of wandering around looking for a good place to shoot, and this is some hurricane destruction right here. This is what happens in the forest, but this can happen in a neighborhood as well, in a suburb. This is an old tree. Now, this tree was already dead. You can see that it has insect, termite damage on the interior, and you never know. And you also have to look for overhead branches that are just teetering, ready for that random breeze, like in one of my videos, by the way. One of my early videos is and I believe that was from Hurricane Debbie, not even Helene or the recent Hurricane Milton. So, these storms are destructive, but they are survivable if one is just plans carefully. One should always have a haul plan, as I call it, or a hunker plan. And I like to use the two H words, but basically a hunker plan means you're going to ride the storm. You're going to stay in one place. You're going to have plenty of food and water. You're going to have other supplies that will be necessary, a way to charge your phone and so forth. Although sometimes the cell phone towers, their batteries run dead or their generators run short of fuel. They require power as well. Or you have the haul plan, but you should always have both for every storm. The haul plan is, where am I going to go? And what am I going to take with me? My go bag, so to speak, that is going to, provide for me and whoever I'm with, and maybe even to help someone else. Bring an extra case of water. You never know who you might run into on the road, and you can help them. And the same thing at home. Have some extra water. One of your neighbors might have not prepared as well as you did. Um, Getting, past all that, but that's why I decided to stand here. I wanted to show the destruction in the forest of these storms. And this was obviously Milton. Something new. And, the wood's very fresh. Smell it. Smells like new lumber. Anyways, one of the things I've been noticing since I started this adventure, and I'm nearly a year into it now, is the low number of biting insects. And I also noticed the low number of love bugs. There are times when I've been driving through Florida over the years that I would drive through a swarm, and I honestly had to pull off to the side of the road because even with the windshield washer, the wipers, it was not able to get the smear. And you're traveling at 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you can't see. I mean, it's that bad. These swarms, and I've learned to watch ahead. And if I see something that looks like a fog up ahead, and it's a clear sunny day, and it's not somebody's brush, they're burning their leaves or whatever in their yard, or their trimmings from their trees, and it's not smoke basically, then I know, slow down, slow, and proceed through those love bugs at a slow speed with the wipers running and the washer ready, and always keep the washer fluid at certain times of the year. Well, the articles basically are stating, sorry, there's a greenbrier, not a biting insect. A greenbrier is, I don't want to break a piece off because we're not supposed to do that in the state forest, but it's actually edible, and it's been around for a long time. It's been mentioned all the way back in early writings of the Americas. It's a great plant. It's a vine. It's a nuisance sometimes, but again, it's one of the edible plants if one had to survive. Getting back to the insects, something's happening in Florida. There seems to be a lower number of insects this year, and to be quite honest with you, since October, November of last year, I have not used insect repellent. Matter of fact, I even stopped carrying it with me when I'm walking in the forest like this. It just seems like there is an absence of biting insects. Now, just a couple days ago, I had a mosquito bothering me, but it's not like it was years ago where I had hundreds of mosquitoes bothering me. And I don't know what the explanation is. It's something that scientists are going to have to look into. I don't know. Is it the storms? But there's been storms before. Has something to do with COVID? I mean, that's what some people have suggested informally that I've mentioned it to, and not science. These are non-science. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and I just figured I'd throw that out there. I really don't have an answer, but I do know that I'm enjoying my nature hikes and my spring swims and even my beach goings without the um, multitude of. And I did have one interesting fellow, just told me over over a beer. He basically said, "Well, there's a lot more people in Florida. Maybe they have a lot more people to bite, and they're spread out more. Maybe I don't know." That wouldn't explain the forest areas, but it is an explanation for the city areas and the high population centers. Maybe there's just more people for the mosquitoes to bite. So we'll see. And then, of course, there's genetic programs that they're doing in the Florida Keys where they're releasing sterile male mosquitoes to reduce the population. Maybe there's other experiments going on elsewhere with the mosquitoes. But I really don't know. It's now there's definitely not an absence of ticks and fleas. I encounter those almost every hike during the late spring, early summer, and I actually carry a little tick removing device, which I'll do a video specifically on that in the future. And the other subject I wanted to get into in today's ramble is corporate executives. I call them corporate FUDs. I'm trying to bring back the word FUD, like Elmer Fudd. But it really is a word, by the way, FUD, F-U-D. But it just means someone that's stupid, ignorant, silly. But I think it applies to a lot of these morons that are at the top of companies. They really never worked a day in their life. They're probably born into money. They were born on the 20th, rung of the ladder instead of on, the 0 rung or the first rung, like many of us started life in. We had to work our way up the ladder. They started on the top of the ladder, and they could only go down for many of them. But getting away from all that, they basically left college, academia, and so they were in high school, grade school, early school, elementary school, whatever you call it around the world, because I know I have viewers from everywhere. I'm amazed by the number of viewers that are outside of the United States from the statistics that I receive from YouTube. But it's they I just want to talk about how they're out of touch. I had an experience last evening. I don't want to get into that particular experience, but I'll mention another one because there may be some legalities or something. And it's just someone I knew, not myself. But I witnessed something in Key West 3 or 4 years ago, and there's a convenience store. I'm not going to mention the name of the store, but there's not that many convenience stores. The corporate executives from actually in another country. They weren't even in the United States. They weren't even just in another state. Another country basically sent somebody in and had this convenience store completely restock all of its bottled water. They had them remove the bottled water from the cooler, from the cold areas, cooled, chilled water and the fruit juices, and replace them all with soda, soda pop. Where I'm originally from, they called it pop, but soda pop, soda, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, soft drinks. Replaced it, all of the juice and the water. And the manager of the store saw his sales plummet because these corporate FUDs obviously had somebody in marketing do a nationwide, worldwide, regional study, and these certain items should be stocked, or some big company, some big soda, manufacturer paid to have these certain items stocked, and paid for the shelf space. So they rent the shelf space. That's something that actually happens in industry, by the way. I'm familiar with that because I was part of the businesses I was raised in were retail. So I understand that. Shelf space is often rented. But I don't know if you know that as consumers. So the products you're seeing may not be the best product for you. They might not be the most sellable product. They were the product that manufacturer paid those individual retailers, or the distributors paid those individual retailers to stock on the shelf. Well, anyways, the sales plummeted. So the manager kind of waited till all the corporate FUDs got back on their jets and flew away. When I worked, when I was working back in, corporate America, I don't want to mention company names, but I was working in corporate America. We called them corporate seagulls because they flew in and they defecated all over the place, and then they left, kind of like seagulls. And so that's why we called them corporate seagulls. But I'm going to call them corporate FUDs. And you can call them whatever you want. I mean, there's famous YouTuber. I mean, he's one of the best out there. He calls them scumbags, and I kind of have to agree with him. I'm not going to mention his name either, but he's one of the YouTubers that I watch, and you probably know who it is just by me mentioning what he calls the corporate FUDs. These folks are often completely out of touch, and just like Thomas Jefferson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm speaking off the top of my head here, I believe he said that government was best local. I keep scratching these green briar. I don't know if there's one here I can put in front of you here, but no, that's not a green briar. Maybe I'll shoot a video on the green briar and talk about what's edible and the whole history and everything. Anyways, these people maybe should, just like Thomas Jefferson said, government is best local. Maybe corporations are best if they would listen to the local managers. Not even just the manager. Listen to the person that's actually dealing with the patrons, the bartender, the server, the flight attendant, the retail clerk. Listen to those people. They might be able to tell you, hey, this is selling, this is not selling. Well, anyways, you know what he did? He couldn't get an answer. He just put the water, the juice, and everything back in the cooler, and his sales went right back to where they were before. So, because the people in Key West are not big soda drinkers. Now, they will mix soda with their alcoholic beverages, the rum and cokes, Jubilee race, things like that, and scotch and soda, if that's even a still thing. But you understand what I'm saying. The soft drinks are then mixed with the alcoholic beverages, and that's basically all they use them for. I mean, they're not big soda drinkers in Key West. They like to drink water, bottled water, and they like to drink, and they add those little flavor packets to them. That's a big trend right now. And they also like to drink juice, believe it or not. So it's a different market. And that market was not understood by the corporate FUDs that came in and reset the whole lineup. And the incident I went through last night, I'll mention it in a later video because there may be some legalities and I don't want to affect this individual's situation. But it bothered me because it was another one of those corporate examples. And it was an out-of-country corporation that was running the business that I was visiting. And they don't know what the hell is going on half the time. Excuse my language, but it's the truth. They're out of touch. And on that note, this is like I said, it's a big tree. It was a big wind, and this tree fell. I think I'll leave it at that today. Alachua County, early afternoon. I'm the Philosopher Pirate, and this is Florida at Large.